All right, my next guest, you might have seen him. He kind of got quite a bit of notoriety after he was noticed by Donald Trump at a Trump rally. It's because he'd been at the gym, pumping iron. And he said, "Man, come on up here." Anyhow, turns out Brian Pannebecker retired as a UAW worker, 25 years inside, and he became the voice for auto workers. UAW members for Trump. He's joining me now. Brian, nice to have you back on the program.
Hey, good morning, Steve. Thanks for having me on.
I mean, you ended up being on stage with Donald Trump several times, didn't you?
Yeah, it ended up being 7 times. And the reason it was so many, frankly, is he knew Michigan was one of the two key states to winning the election, us in Pennsylvania. And not only that, but I lived in the key county within Michigan, which is Macomb County, where so many UAW members work. And they're known as the Reagan Democrats in political circles nationwide.
Right. So, all right. So the reason I wanted to bring you on, though, big changes. We've seen auto plants announced in Louisiana, Indiana, other big investments in Michigan, other big investments in Illinois. And part of this is being attributed to Donald Trump's tariffs and threats of tariffs against other countries importing their vehicles here when we're not allowed to import ours there on an even playing field. What do you think of the tariffs? What do you make of the tariffs that are being put out there?
Well, we love the tariffs because free trade is not always fair trade. And we've always had tariffs imposed on us in other countries that don't allow us to sell our vehicles, our products into their countries. But we've allowed them to flood our markets, like Honda and Hyundai, and the South Korean and Japanese automakers have been flooding our market with vehicles, as well as the Germans and Europeans. So we want free trade, but we also want fair trade, and we haven't been getting it. So Donald Trump understands that. He wrote the book on negotiations, and he's not afraid to play hardball with those guys.
What do you think? All right, so you're in Macomb County, Reagan Democrats. You just mentioned this.
Right.
And you're among a lot of different people, traditional Republicans, traditional Democrats, independents. There's this suggestion being made on the left that there's all this buyer's remorse over Donald Trump and the people that voted for him. I haven't heard one person that voted for Trump that said, "Gosh, I'm sorry I did that."
Not true.
You don't see it at all, do you?
No, as usual, Steve, whatever the Democrats or the extreme left are saying, usually the exact opposite is true. And when I talk to people, they are just loving every minute of what Trump has been doing since November 5th, and they want him to keep pouring it on. Just like all the reductions that Doge is doing, our government's been growing and growing and growing for decades. It's going to take a lot of cutting to get it down to size. Same thing in the auto industry. We've been losing product, and plants have been closing for so long, and I'm talking about decades. It's going to take a lot of reinvestment and retooling to get us back to where we were in the 70s and 80s.
Scott Pressler, pretty well-known influencer out there, working in places like Pennsylvania to flip it red, busting tail. He is warning people right now. He is sounding the alarm because of another red seat that flipped in upstate New York, I believe it was, a local Senate seat. He said, "Look, people, you cannot sit on your hands. Donald Trump won the election, but you have got to stay involved because the midterms are more important now than they've ever been." And there you are in Macomb County. And in Michigan, we're going to have a wide open race for governor, a wide open race for a Senate seat that kind of came as a surprise to everybody. The governor's seat, Whitmer's termed out, so we know that. But then you've got a Senate seat. We cannot afford to sit down and relax in the midterms. Too many times the people that voted for Trump in the presidential elections don't show up in the midterms. How do we change that?
Yeah, Steve, great point. I'm glad you brought it up. We have to win the midterms. This revolution did not end on November 5th. It really just began. Trump put his team in place, and he's got a great team, and they're working hard at his administration level. But you're right. If we lose the majority in the House or the Senate, the House is more at risk than the Senate, of course. But if we were to lose the majority, the radical Democrats would shut down Trump's agenda and everything would come to a screeching halt. So what we're going to do in Macomb County is basically use what we did in 2024 as a template, and we're going to get back out and motivate, educate, and rally the UAW members. Macomb County is the third most populous county in the state of Michigan, and if we can win Macomb County big again, we can win, the statewide elections at least. On the congressional level, people are going to have to get out and work hard in those specific congressional districts to make sure we don't lose and maybe gain a couple more.
But wouldn't it be nice to deliver a Senate seat in Michigan? Wouldn't it be nice to deliver the governor's mansion back to the Republicans, back to the good guys for a while, and take a stride in the right direction for once? That's what we need to do, and it's going to take a lot of hard work. It's going to take every bit of the work that it took in 2024 to get it done, Brian. You know that, and so do I, and I'm glad that you're here. I also hear you're on your way to the White House sometime soon. Real quick, we got about 30 seconds. You got an invite, you're going to go.
Yeah, during the campaign last fall, I asked the Trump campaign that if we did end up winning Michigan, because we're working very hard at it, if I could bring a group of the auto workers who worked so hard to help him to Washington and go to the White House to get their pictures taken. A lot of my guys have never met Donald Trump personally and shaken his hand, and they'd like to get a picture with him. He told me personally, Steve, I'd love to do that. You guys win Michigan for me, and you can come to the White House. I'd like to get some pictures taken with your auto workers.
Very nice.
So, time hasn't been nailed down yet, but sometime in the next month or two.
That's very nice. Brian Pannebecker. Greatly appreciate the hard work. Always appreciate talking to you, my friend. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me on, Steve.
All right, have a good day. Nice weekend as well. We'll round out this hour with a little bit of sports from Brock after this.